Hey everyone. You know, this is Hank, my ID7 Pro, and my wife and I scratched him a few times. I was so proud when I had my ID3. I had an ID3 First Edition Plus. I got it September of 2020. I had him for 3.5 days. I leased the car. I gave it back to Volkswagen. They checked it and they said, everything is perfect. There's no scratch, everything works, it's in perfect condition. We really have that. I was so proud. I was, yes, I'm gonna do this with Hank, my ID7 too. But it didn't take long. If you want to know what you spend every month on your EV, what trips are you taking, what was your average consumption, all of your charging sessions, what is your AC to DC ratio, and you don't want to write all of this down yourself, then Tronity is exactly what you need. Tronity connects to your car, a lot of brands are supported, and in the app or in a browser you can see all of this data. You can also have a 100% tax compliant driver's logbook. My viewers get 25% off if they use the link in the description below. The first thing is a tiny little dent here that I then brought to Volkswagen, and they repaired it with just a little pin. And it was my wife, but it was my fault to not telling her that. Our garage is not very high, and if Hank, my ID7, or our ID7, is parked in the garage, you cannot open the trunk all the way. It hits the door of the garage. And my wife Cindy opened it, didn't look, and it banged against it. There's a metal thing, and there's two little dents in here. You can barely see it unless I'm right here. It's not horrible, but it happened like 2 months after we got the car, and I was really mad. I was mad at myself to not tell her. I was mad at myself to not save the height of the garage that you can save for the electric liftgate, and I'm mad at her that she just opened it without seeing that. But it's totally my fault. Since then, of course, I have saved the height, but it's so annoying that every time we're not home, I open it and it just opens a bit, and I have to open the full trunk to not hit my head. But that's just how it is. The second thing is totally my wife's fault. She hates parking this car because everything beeps and she can see very well. The car is very long, but the parking sensors, they beep too much for her. She's totally stressed out. And at her work, they have this little license plates that tell what is what parking spot, and they're very tiny, but they're made of metal, and she got against it here on the bottom one, and even a tiny scratch up here at the normal color. And it's a big scratch. That's not something you can just polish out. It has to be repainted. And that happened maybe a week or 2 weeks later after the incident up there, and she called me and she was freaking out, and I was, at that point, I already have given up. This car will have scratches. It's gonna happen. The next is totally my fault because I'm an idiot, and I'm gonna tell you the story and you're gonna shake your head and be like, what's wrong with this guy? And you're totally right, and I get it. So when we had this dent here, because it hit the ceiling of the garage, Cindy and I thought we have to baby-proof or Hank-proof the garage. So we put up a lot of things that when we open the door, when we open the trunk, and we would have it open the full way, it wouldn't scratch. So over this metal thing where it bumped into, we put a gigantic foam thing, and then because there was nothing there, with duct tape we connected this. But after a while, the duct tape failed, and it went down a bit, and of course we didn't fix it. A few times tried it, and then at some point duct tape fell onto the car while it was parked. And when duct tape, this glue thing, goes on this thing, you can't get it off. It's not like you can easily take it off. It looked horrible. And then the stupid thing, what I did, well, you can get a glue remover from a paint on a car, and I got that for other parts where there was a duct tape, and it works perfectly. You put it on, you do one thing, and it's gone. And here, I didn't do that because I thought I can just take this off. I just take a bit of soap and water and rub a bit, and it's gonna go off. And here is where you shake your head. Because I rubbed so much that now there are tiny little scratches here. But I think this is not so deep, but then with good polish you could take that out. I think so. I hope so. But yes, you're totally right to think that I'm an idiot, and I am. I know. And now we get to the last scratch, the biggest scratch, and the unknown one. So nobody knows how this happened. I haven't noticed anything about the car. And then we went to a metal concert in Regensburg, where I drove and I parked. And then a few days later, we did ID7 against Model 3, where I drove the Model 3 and Matthias was driving this. And then a day after this, I saw this scratch. And the scratch starts here on the side, around here, and then there was even a tiny scratch in the rim as well. I have no idea if Cindy did that at work, if I did it when we drove to that concert, or if Matthias did it when he drove, what was it, 300 kilometers or so, when we drove against the Model 3. We don't know. I have no idea, but the scratch is here. It's the biggest one because this is really, really deep. And this will need the most fixing. It's maybe even a tiny bit bent. This is not nice. So I'm not happy with this. This is the worst one, and I feel the worst about it, but I don't know when it happened. And all the others, you could hear it big time. So I know how a scratch sounds like. I scratched an Ioniq 5N, and it was a horrible sound, and it was freaking out, and it was a tiny scratch. This looks big. You should hear that. And Cindy would know, I would know, and I think Matthias would know too, because it's a quiet car. So I don't know where this happened. I don't think it was a different car. It looks like someone drove against it, and maybe it happened at the supercharger where we charged it, where we had to park this side to the curb. Which was unusual, or I don't know how it happened. We have no idea. But this is the worst one and makes me the most sad. With these scratches then I went to my dealership and I said, how much is this to fix it? And asked my insurance as well, how this all gonna work. And they looked at it and they gave me an estimate of 3,000 euros. And what I've seen in the paper, in the estimation, everything, they also wanted a new rim for 670 euros or something, which has a tiny little scratch in it. And I'm not gonna do that. That's stupid. I'm not gonna that's just stupid. I'm not gonna want something with a tiny little scratch. I'm sure you can just polish this out a tiny bit, and even if there is a scratch, I think the leasing company will not say, oh, there's a tiny scratch in... no, I'm not gonna do this. So the plan is to do all of the scratches, of course, at the end of the leasing. So next year, the leasing ends December 15th or December 11th, I can't remember, of 2025. So I have it for another 13 months. And before that, we're gonna fix all of this, because maybe there are other scratches. And then insurance will pay for it, but not the rim. Hello. This is just waste of money, and I don't know. I didn't like that this was on there for this tiny. It was a centimeter scratch and nothing big. I'm sure if you polish it a bit, it looks like dirt. It's nothing special. I was a bit mad about that. But I have to paint under here, I have to paint the back and other stuff, and then I will ask them to polish up there to get this. Yeah, but we're gonna do this, and hopefully since then nothing happened, fingers crossed as usual. And we try to take care of Hank, and not that it happens again. But it's also a car, stuff happens, and that's what you have insurance for. It's not a big deal. But again, I was so proud with Walter, our ID3, and now I'm a bit disappointed. But that's how it is. If you want to follow me on Instagram, BatteryLife1, and if you want to support the channel, there's a Patreon link in the description below. And here on YouTube, there's also channel membership. And if you want to know what's happening behind the scenes, I have a third YouTube channel, Behind the Battery. But that's it for me. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day and take care. Bye.